In this video, I'm going to walk you through what I do when I feel frazzled and overwhelmed in my online coaching business, because despite what everybody else is showing you online, business isn't always sunshine and rainbows. In fact, sometimes it's extremely hard. And if I'm being completely honest here, I would say that you're pretty much eating shit 95% of the time in business. And most won't really admit the struggles that they go through and the challenges that they face because they want to make it out to be this glorified, fun-filled journey when it's just not the case at all. Now, if we haven't met before, my name is Josh Bowers and I've been in the online coaching space since December of 2019. I've collected a little bit over $1.5 million in cash over the last couple of years across 2 different coaching offers. The purpose of these videos is to walk you through all of the things that I've been doing over the years that have worked for me, the things that haven't worked for me, and the things that I'm doing in my business now and also with my clients as well. So let's dig into what I do when I'm feeling frazzled and overwhelmed, because this does come up for me and it will come up for you many times over. Now, if we go through my personal journey, something that I am a huge fan of is seasonal growth. Now, one of my very first mentors, Dan Bolton, I wouldn't even say very first mentors, one of my mentors over the years, Dan Bolton, who doesn't really do that much business stuff anymore, I think. He had this concept of seasons, where you have seasons of pushing and seasons of cruising. And I really adopted that into my own life and business and started to take it really serious, because if you were to zoom out on your overall growth, especially if you've been in this game for quite some time, you would know that there are times where you're really hammering things and the business is flowing and it's scaling hard and you're pushing. But you would then also know there are seasons where things aren't going that hard and it's almost like you're in this like maintenance phase, this like holding phase where nothing's really happening. And you're almost like a bull at a gate sometimes, but the latch won't open on the gate because you're in that holding season. Well, this very much applies to my own personal journey, is that the growth that I have had over the years has been seasonal. So for example, I've recently been moving countries, right? So if you follow me closely, you would know that I've been living in Bali and Dubai for the last couple of years, traveling around doing the nomad thing. But now I've recently moved back from Bali to Australia, and I'm actually like moving home permanently, have moved home. I'm in my new place now. But what's interesting is during this time of moving countries, I have been very frazzled and very overwhelmed with, I guess, life in general, because there's been so much happening. Moving house is the third, I believe, most traumatic thing that somebody can go through. And that's just moving in your local country. And I've basically moved from overseas. So it's been a very full-on time for me. And the reason why I share about me moving countries is because the season that I've been in recently, up until kind of the last few weeks, is a season of holding and a season of maintenance. Reason why I've been in that season is because I've been really overwhelmed. Not with the business has been fine, but with moving, right? I've just moved countries basically, and trying to find a rental has been very challenging for me. I've fortunately been blessed with a rental now, but it has been a challenging time. And what's interesting is that I've had plenty of time on my hands to like push the business and to really hammer things. But the reason why I haven't been able to do that is because I've had limited bandwidth. And a lot of people talk about how time is your most valuable resource. And while I do agree with that, something that I think is almost equal value, if not maybe more value, is our bandwidth. And this is where I've been feeling frazzled and overwhelmed in the last couple of weeks, is that even though I've been doing all the things that are necessary in my business to, let's say, keep the lights on, I haven't been moving the needle and growing it as much as I probably would like to have. But even though I've had a lot of time on my hands, I haven't had a lot of bandwidth. Between organizing and finding a rental, between settling back into my home country, catching up with friends and family, developing a new routine, just everything, getting settled, right? My bandwidth has been at an all-time low. Actually, not an all-time low. Let me take that back. It's been maxed out. I've had very little bandwidth, but a lot of free time. So there's a lot happening upstairs, which is causing this frazzled feeling, this overwhelmed feeling, but no real progress in the business like what I want. And that's because I've been in a season of maintenance and a season of holding before we can then move into that new season. And for me now, I'm calling this lock-in season the great lock-in, because now my bandwidth has just completely opened up. I've now found a rental. I've got all of my necessary furniture. I've got a good set of knives. You can't see it here, but I've got a good coffee machine behind me, a really comfortable bed, a good desk set up. And that's all I now need for the next couple of months, because I'm going to be locking in really hard with the business and pushing things to that next level. Why am I doing that? Because I have the bandwidth and I have the capacity to now handle that. But when I'm going through a season where I'm feeling frazzled and overwhelmed, I have to acknowledge that season, right? And that's why it's really important that you know your season, which is starting with honesty. You have to be honest with yourself with the season that you're in. You might be going through a whole bunch of shit right now and it's overloading you, it's overwhelming you. And if that's the case, that's fine, dude. Relax. You're in that maintenance season. You're in that holding season. But on the flip side of that, if you're being completely honest with yourself, if you have a good amount of bandwidth, if you're not feeling frazzled and you're not feeling overwhelmed, and you do want to scale things, and you're not, then what's stopping you, right? Unless you're at a place where you're content, then that's also totally fine as well. But that's the key to this, is honesty. You need to be honest with yourself about what season you're in, and then you can act in accordance with that. Once you know the season that you're in, it's really important that you focus on the right inputs. Now, when I'm feeling frazzled and overwhelmed, my main focus is only pulling on the levers that have the most amount of leverage within my business, the biggest levers that I can pull on that's going to get me the biggest result. I'm not fiddling around with small things when I'm feeling frazzled and overwhelmed. Why? Because my bandwidth is taken up. There's no point me allocating the very limited bandwidth that I have into all these small micro tasks that are probably very low on the return on investment. Instead, I'm focusing on the things that are going to bring me in leads, the things that are going to get my clients results and increase the sales in my business. If I can maximize those few inputs that have the most amount of output, right, the most amount of ROAS, the most amount of ROI, whatever you would like to label it as, those levers is what I'm going to be pulling on when I'm feeling the most frazzled and overwhelmed, and you need to do the exact same thing. So if you are going through one of these more chaotic seasons, then it's important that you're honest with yourself and acknowledge that season, but then it's focusing on just a few inputs. So for me, during this crazy season of my life recently, those inputs, serving my clients, making sure I'm doing my best to maintain a presence on social media. So the content going out, feed content, was inconsistent, but my stories, I tried to be as consistent as I could through that. And then outside of that, it's just monitoring some of the KPIs around the business. And if anything, everything was just on autopilot. It was on maintenance mode. Did I make a lot of sales during that time? Nope, absolutely not. Why? Because I wasn't pouring into that. And that's okay because of the season that I was in. So it's important that, like I said, you acknowledge your season. When you are feeling frazzled and overwhelmed, you can sometimes have this inclination to want to lock in harder, and you want to almost fight the friction that you're facing. Like when you're feeling frazzled and overwhelmed, a lot of people's sort of knee-jerk reaction is to go I'm not being disciplined enough. I need to push harder, right? And they start forcing these outcomes. Trust me, from first-hand experience, if you're in a season of being frazzled and overwhelmed and you're in that holding season right now, forcing things is the worst thing you can do. It's going to equal a crash out. I've done this many times over. I've learned my lesson now, and I've done this many times over, and I crash out every time. Acknowledge the season, be honest with yourself, and be kind to yourself. Now, when I spoke about levers, that's obviously looking at what I've got here, which is minimizing moving parts. Again, most coaches add far too much complexity to their business. They're trying to do a million different things all at once. They've got 15 tabs open on their browser. They've got notifications galore. Their phone's going ballistic. People are coming at them from all angles, and they've got a million moving parts all at once, right? Remember this: improval by subtraction. Improval by subtraction. So for me, I'm not trying to add more things to my business when I'm feeling frazzled and overwhelmed. Even when I'm scaling and my bandwidth is really sort of open, I'm still trying to minimize moving parts. It's not about doing more. It's about doing a better job with what you have, which means minimizing the things that are actually within your business. Now, when you are going through one of those like rougher seasons, my biggest piece of advice is be honest, acknowledge that season that you're in and act accordingly. But the next piece of advice is you need to extend the timeline horizon. And I want you to take this part really serious from me. It's going to take you 2 to 3 times as long as what you think it's going to take to grow this business. And if that hurts your feelings, then you have no right being in this game. Because the level of entitlement that I see come through coaches is disgraceful. You can't expect to have a business that does $500,000 a year, which is about $44,000 a month, right? You can't expect to have that type of business and make that kind of money when you've been in this game for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. I'm 5 years deep online, 11 years in online coaching, sorry. I've been in this game for a decade. 5 years I've been pushing at the online thing. Am I where I want to be? Hell no. I've got so much more potential that I haven't tapped into yet, but I know that it's going to take me time to develop my own capacity to step into that potential, which means extending the timeline horizon of when you think you're going to make it and what the success is going to be. Most coaches are far too impatient, driven by scarcity, driven by insecurity. Whatever thing is driving them is generally the wrong thing, which is why they are forcing things and they're trying to rush things, and it's no wonder they aren't where they want to be, because they have this false expectation in their mind that they can be at 10 grand, 20 grand, $30,000 a month in 6 months. It's ridiculous. It's going to take you years. So be patient. Extend the timeline horizon a little bit and back some pressure off yourself, because if you're in one of these seasons where things are feeling overwhelming, you're placing all of this pressure on yourself, you're forcing outcomes, it only makes things worse, right? Ride out the season that you're in and then know that the season where you have the capacity and the bandwidth will come around. Final piece of advice I have for you here is get help during seasons like this. And when I say get help, I mean get a mentor in your corner. Have someone else who is further along than you guide you. Sometimes you will get to the next level, quite a lot to be honest. You'll get to the next level and you don't know what to expect because you've never been there. Imagine going to a country and getting dropped off into a random forest. You're going to have no idea on what direction to walk in. You might be able to look at the sun and go, okay, well, maybe I've got to go north, but you don't even know what country you're in, so that might not even be the right direction. That's exactly what it's like when you get to the next level. You have no idea what the territory is like that you're facing because you haven't been there before. But when you get a mentor who's walked those steps, they're already levels above you, they know what it's like. So they can either reassure you or they can realign you. It's simple as that. Get help from somebody. If you're always trying to white knuckle things and trying to push through, it's probably no wonder that you're always feeling frazzled and overwhelmed. And by no means is this a pitch for me, but I'm just saying that sometimes getting guidance is going to be the very thing that can help you navigate these overwhelming seasons that you face. Hope you got some value, and I'll see you inside of the next video.